Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. This is Philip from Rhodium FX. Now, going to be a first analysis video here uh, on the YouTube, on the Rhodium FX YouTube. Now, I have done a couple of other videos across Facebook and Instagram and things like this, but this will be the official first YouTube video. So if you guys aren't aware, I have recently passed my own prop firm challenge, the funded account. I've passed the 100K account. I did phase one and phase two. As you guys can see, these are all the trades. Maybe one day I'll do a video on the trades that I took. But yeah, these were the trades that I've kind of taken to pass those two phases. And what I'm planning on doing next, I'll continue to trade on this funded account. And then we'll use the payout to allocate towards like a giveaway. So we'll use the payout from this funded account to sort of go towards another funded account, and we'll give that away to anyone in the community. So it'd be pretty cool to do. So if you guys want to be involved in that, make sure to tag us or tag friends in the comments here, and also share the video for all to see. But yeah, so let's do a quick bit of a market analysis. Right now we're looking here at gold, or XAUUSD. This is the 30-minute time frame. Now we've had a pretty good move to the upside. I can already see there were a couple of head and shoulders, and I haven't traded in a while. You guys can see the last trade I took was on the 18th of this month, and now we're obviously on the 30th of this month right now, of March, so leading up into April. So we have a monthly candle closing as well. So a lot of things tend to happen when the monthly candle closes. So this is a 15-minute. Now we're on the 30 minutes, but you know there's a lot of good analysis here, even on 30 minutes as well. So let me quickly take you guys through. I'm going to jump down to the 15 so we can see a bit more chart structure. But essentially what we had here, we had some nice head and shoulders sort of pop up if you do trade that on your side. If not, it's just sort of a break on support. That's kind of just basically what a head and shoulders is, just a support being formed, and then the market rejects on that, right? So we can see nice support. Market came down, creates that shoulder, inverted head and shoulders, comes back up to the neckline, push down to create the head, up and down again, rejection to push back up. So this is a fairly common pattern that we tend to see in gold. Now, it's not always like the head and shoulders with a strong shoulder we see all the time. So for example, here is one as well, if you guys can see it. I'll zoom in a little bit just to make it a little bit more obvious, but this was actually also a very, very similar pattern. Now again, those the shoulders aren't as prevalent, so realistically what it all really is just the market reacting on a support zone. So we can see the market broke past that support zone, pushed to the downside, did reject close to this previous area, then we pushed back past, came back down to a test, and a nice sort of engulfing candle close. Now I wasn't available to trade this. I was up at about 6 this morning. Usually I do check the Asia session, but I just didn't feel like it this Monday. Didn't really feel like doing it this Monday, so I had a bit of a break. I had a good breakfast and everything. But right now, leading up to the London session open. Now, remember, guys, this is coming to a month end, so we're starting to close this monthly candle. So when the monthly candle closes, we tend to see a lot of interesting movement. And I mean, look at this monthly candle here on gold. This is a wild monthly candle. We haven't had a candle like that in years. There's nothing quite to this extent ever since. The more we see gold push up to the highs, the bigger we start to see these candles become. We can see like these candles were all fairly big for their size for the monthly candles. Back then, this is 2020, we can see during COVID and everything. But now, man, like these candles are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Look at the size of this red candle. We had an entire red month here in gold. Just wild. Just absolutely wild. So going back to the daily as well, we can see some consolidation. This could, if you guys are Elliott wave traders, this could look like a nice zigzag, creating our initial sort of the impulse wave we had to the upside. I'm not going to do all the wave counts, but if you guys are Elliotticians, I'm sure you guys will go crazy about it. But here we can see a nice zigzag, A, B, and C. So we can see there's our A wave, there's our B wave, and these are C waves. So generally speaking, if you guys are familiar with Elliott wave, this could mean the end of the downwards move, and we could start seeing gold push back up again. But every strategy has got its faults and flaws. It's not always 100% correct, so we'll always have to wait for some sort of confirmation, whether you trade with Elliott wave, whether you trade with Fibonacci, whichever it is. If we look at this leg here to the downside, this is a huge, huge leg to the downside. So let's have a quick look to see where we can start this. I'd probably say, it's not to scale. I know if you guys are super into your Elliott wave or anything like that, like you guys will say, no, but this is not the right pullback. But I don't really care. So let's have a quick look at this huge market pullback over here. We can see over the most recent leg, we're sitting at like 78.6% of this market pullback. So it's a huge, huge pullback of this. But again, we want to wait for a nice confirmation. So let's jump over to a 30-minute term time frame. We can see we sort of had the market create this high right over here. Now, knowing that the month is coming to an end, we're going to want to see some form of, like I said, confirmation. We can't really jump on this trade right now. There was a trade during Asia session, especially on the 15-minute time frame. Like I mentioned, we had this sort of, if you want to call it head and shoulders, or rejection of support. Support got created. We can see another one, support got created here. We saw some sort of reaction here. Then we had this completely dead stop on it, and we had this very, very nice engulfing candle right over here, closing above 1, 2, 3 candles, right? And one big candle to the downside. So it closed right above that. That was a very nice spot for an entry. Stop loss obviously below that rejection zone, and a nice 2 to 1. Or even up here would have been a really, really nice trade, but obviously Asia session, we weren't always there. And I've noticed that gold recently has moved really, really well during the Asia session. So I have taken a couple of trades in passing this funded challenge. I have actually taken a couple of trades during the Asia session. So that's been quite nice. But right now, what we could be looking for is, we are pushing back up to this high. If we do break this most immediate high right over here, honestly, I don't really know if we'll get great moves considering the time of the year. Oh, sorry, the time of the month. Because look, if we break above this, there's not really a lot of range, and we are pushing into some heavy consolidation. If we look at the previous left-hand side, right, we always saw nice, clean moves, right? We had clean market structure to the left. If we look to the left, we had clean market structure that this market was able to push into. But right now, the most immediate market structure is very messy, right? So this whole area here is extremely, extremely messy. So, I mean, you can take a trade in it, but I'm not going to be looking for anything in there. Maybe to the downside, but it's just not, honestly, like it's just not worth it. Remember, trading is all about putting the odds in your favor. And as soon as you do something that could be a little bit uncertain, or you could do something that doesn't follow especially follow your trading strategy, you are already moving those odds. And we are all about odds in this game. If we start to make our odds negative because we break our rules, we will start to lose money, right? That's that plain and simple. So gold has started to move into a very, very large range, in my opinion. I do think maybe at the end of the month, especially next week, we're going to see NFP. So gold could potentially use this to push to extremities. We see this a lot where it uses their NFP announcement for gold to reach extremities and then perhaps look to pull back down. And then maybe we can look for trades inside the zone. These legs up and down are quite clean. This is the 15-minute time frame. So if we look at something like the 30-minute time frame and zoom in a bit, we can see these. It is a fairly clean. These are fairly clean moves, although there is a little bit of hiccup in there. But it is a nice, clean, clear zone, right? More effectively, honestly, if you want to wait for the breaks to the upside, that's also a very valid trade. We've looked at our overall time frame when the market just started to create a support. So this could be the potential of a trend reversal, right? Of this overall push to the downside. We had a very, very red month, a very big push to the downside. So perhaps right now the market could be looking to turn to the upside. Especially what we want to look for, one of the main things that I always say that we want to look for a trend reversal is we want to look for higher highs and higher lows, right? So we've had our low created, then we had a high created over here, then we had a new low created, so there is our higher low, right? Market pushed up and gave us a new higher high, right? So this was our first sequence. Now we've created another higher low. So if the market breaks past that, we've officially created our third higher high. So that is a very good indication that the market is looking to continue further to the upside, right? Now, if you guys are into, again, some sort of Elliott wave analysis, you can measure these waves and see if this is like an expanding triangle, leading triangle, whatever it is. But, the most basic thing, guys, to make things as less complicated as possible, look for higher highs and higher lows for an uptrend. Once we start to see this, chances are the market will continue this, especially if we're going to create a third high. Right, so once we break this past here, we create a third higher high, this just could be a very good place to look to start taking trades, especially if we get like breaks and retests. Now, I'm not saying push this thing all the way to the upside, right? Like hold this position with such a tight stop loss. If you're going to swing trade this, if you're a swing trader, your stop losses tend to have to be a little bit further away. So a swing trader could potentially wait for the break of this, maybe put their stop loss, down here, and then entry will be over here, right? So it's a very, very big stop loss. That's the one negative part about being a swing trader. But then your take profit will then be back at these highs, right? So your take profit will be somewhere up around, somewhere up around here, right? There could be your first take profit, reaching that resistance, then your overall take profit because you want the trend to continue to reverse, right? We want to see the break of this high. So there's another target for take profit. And then what a lot of swing traders do, even when I used to swing trade as well, I wouldn't necessarily close my full position. Instead, what I would do is I would take my trade, and then as the market moves past zones, instead of closing it, I'll just bring my stop loss below here, right? So I'll continue to manage this trade, and as we get to create market structure, the market breaks past these structures, right? You just continue to move your stop loss. That's a pretty good way as a swing trader to keep the trade alive. Obviously, there is going to be a point where the market will give back some sort of profit, but if you ride that whole leg up to the upside, it could be very, very ideal. Right, but for more intraday trading, personally, like I said, I'm going to wait for this high to break. All the other pairs are not looking that great, so we're just going to do gold. But yeah, looking for this high to break could be a very, very nice place to start looking for this market to push back to the upside for gold. Let's have a quick look. GBP/USD, not really digging it. Euro USD is pretty ugly. So is NZD. USD is all 30-minute time frames. USD JPY, not that clean. So gold right now is probably the cleanest setup, I would say. The market looks very, very clean. But yeah, that's what we're going to look for, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to give that thumbs up. Comment, like, and subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. If you are watching us on Facebook or anywhere else, make sure to tag some friends and share the video as well, guys. Have a great trading week. Hope you guys do all the best and trade safe.